Zelators, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Imagine waking up to see one of Africa's most vital economic engine completely frozen. No rolling engines, no bustling matatus waving through traffic, no school buses on the roads. Instead, a haunting silence covers the central business district of Nairobi, broken only by the crackling of burning tires on the city's outskirts and the heavy thud of tear gas canisters fired by riot police. On Monday, 18th May 2026, Kenya didn't experience a strike. It experienced a systematic heart attack. The Transport Sector Alliance called a nationwide shutdown, bringing major urban centers like Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, and Erupts to a dead stop. The rallying cry across the nation is clear: reject fuel prices. But behind the sudden explosion of public rage lies a deeper story of global conflict, aggression, domestic taxation, and the deep hypocrisy of foreign leaders who fly into Nairobi claiming to hold the keys to Africa's future while the ground beneath them bends. To truly understand why the streets of Nairobi are filled with smoke, we must look directly at the crushing numbers delivered for the May to June pricing cycle by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Kenya's fuel costs have not just risen, they have shattered historic records. Super petrol has climbed an additional 8%, reaching an unbearable 214.25 Kenyan shilling per litre. But the real devastating blow was dealt to diesel, the absolute lifeblood of Kenya's public transport, agriculture, and manufacturing sectors. Diesel skyrocketed by a massive 23.5%, jumping from 196.63 Kenyan shillings to a staggering 242.92 Kenyan shillings per litre. This comes immediately on the heels of a 24.2% diesel cost this much. Survival becomes an expensive luxury because privately owned matatu minibuses provide the only viable transit for millions of working class Kenyans. Their total strike meant instant paralysis. Commuters were forced to trek for hours on foot along Thika Road or stay trapped at home, unable to earn a living. The state's official explanation points the finger entirely outward. The Treasury and Economic Planning Ministry argues that Kenya is a victim of external forces beyond its control. As a country heavily dependent on fuel imports from the Gulf, Kenya has been hit exceptionally hard by the violent Middle East conflict and Iran's effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point through which a fifth of the world's global oil supply flows. Government officials claim their hands are tied and they are already bleeding state funds to provide minor subsidies.
The issue of fuel is a global phenomenon. It is not unique to Kenya, Africa. It's there in Africa and the whole world. So it's not something only unique to Kenya. Due to global markets, forces beyond the control of a single country, the prices, global oil prices, global oil supply has reduced while demand remains high, pushing prices upwards. So, fuel prices adjustments are driven by global geopolitical events. And these decisions cannot be solved through unlawful or riotous mob. Any attempt to block road, disrupt business, engage in violence will not lower the prices of fuel, but will instead harm the economy, endanger lives, and that will attract also the full force of the law. And that's why you are here. Global challenges due to that, as I said earlier, can it be solved through lawlessness, criminal act, or which are disguised as protests. These are criminal actions. What we have seen today are criminal actions. Through Wayakiwe, through Roysambu, through Gudarai roundabout there, through Outer Ring, Taj Mall area, Donyo, and Dagoretti. Those are criminal acts which are disguised as protests. We will deal with them firmly, decisively within the law. And for now, the total damages, we have police vehicles, those which smashed windscreens, are 5 in number, and 1 owned by a civilian. The police officers who were injured are 6, including me. You can see, this is a rock. So, if you tell me this is an armed and a peaceful protest, you know what it means. You know what it means, this. So, I was not born like this. So this is a new, something added to my body. So it is defaced already, you can see. So nanimumia na tunasonga mbele. Kwa hivyo kwa sasa tunaendelea, bado tunapambana na watu kule upande ya Kasarani na we'll deal with them according to the law.
However, local economists and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry have exposed a glaring contradiction in this narrative. While global crude oil prices increased by roughly 10.7% over the last month, Kenya's domestic diesel price exploded by more than double that rate at 23.5. The math simple does not add up to a simple global crisis. Instead, it exposes a massive domestic cost build-up. The state is utilizing heavy fuel taxes, including the controversial road maintenance levy and high VAT, to serve a mountain of national debt and cover a severe strained national budget. The administration is essentially balancing its books on the backs of the most vulnerable citizens. And this brings us to the ultimate irony of the crisis. Just days before Nairobi street erupted in flames over these sophisticated fuel costs, the city played host to the high-profile African Forward Summit. Walking onto the stage was French President Emmanuel Macron, who arrived with the familiar lifting rhetoric of Western benevolence. Macron announced a massive 23 billion euro investment push for the continent, alongside separate bilateral agreements with Kenya covering energy, rail, and digital infrastructure. He went so far as to boldly label himself as the Pan-Africanist during a press conference and lectured an audience of African leaders, entrepreneurs, and artists on stage, abruptly grabbing the microphone to demand absolute silence and order from noisy room, calling their behavior a total lack of respect. The optic could not be more damning. While Macron presents France as a savior arriving with billions to secure and modernize Kenya's energy transition, the local reality reveals a deep disconnect. Activists and intellectual circles across Africa immediately push back against Macron's performance, pointing out that Pan-Africanism is a philosophy of self-determination and the eradication of colonial exploitation, not a corporate marketing brand for European diplomacy. Critics argue that these multi-billion-dollar Western investment packages often come wrapped in financial mechanisms that enforces economic dependency rather than true sovereignty. The Western savior complex promises future green energy projects and sustainable aviation fuel, yet it completely ignores the immediate material reality of the people on the ground. A working class Kenyan cannot put a future hydrogen railway on their plate today. They are dealing with a reality where the prices of basic things like tomatoes have tripled in a matter of days because the transport costs to move food from farms to Nairobi market have doubled. With nearly a third of the population already living below the poverty line, the economic chokehold is immediate. While foreign dignitaries fly in on private jets to sign grand treaties and scold local audience for lack of respect, the Kenyan economy loses an estimated 50 billion shillings for every single day and the transport system remains paralyzed. This is the reality of Africa. They come with promising things, giving us all that we need in speech. But at the end of the day, we are suffering. These deals they sign with these people, the things they come to promise and give to us, each time these people enter into any country, before they leave, something must erupt. Because what they bring to us is not to give us a better life. It's to take something out of it. And the more our lives become difficult, the more they gain. So where is the savior who came into Africa preaching Pan-Africanism to us, the savior of ours? Where is he? That just some few days that he left, things are not easy in Nairobi. Nairobi was calm until he arrived. These are the things the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are kicking away. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, East Africa, and in Kenya.